You got Samwise Gamgee and Sabrina in a show together. How you gonna mess this up? What is up, Netflix fans, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about the brand new series on Netflix starring Sean Astin, aka Samwise, and Melissa Joan Hart, aka Sabrina. These are two of my favorite actors growing up, and I'm not sitting here comparing them to Leo saying, oh, well, clearly they're the best actors in the world. No, but I mean, I grew up with these two in leading roles in very different things. I really enjoyed watching Sabrina when it was on television when I was younger. My mom was really into that show. And then, of course, Lord of the Rings. And Sean Astin has had quite the resurgence recently. He's had minor roles in many movies, and of course, his role in Stranger Things has really brought him back into the limelight. So I figured it would only be a matter of time before he got his own show on Netflix, even though this really isn't his own show, and we'll get into that. But this is a very standard and typical show that you would have seen 15 years ago. We're talking multi-camera setup, the laugh track, everything that you anticipate with a show like this. Very family-oriented, even though there were some elements in there that I believe made it a bit edgier than your typical Nickelodeon or Disney Channel show. And yes, I am comparing this to a Nickelodeon or Disney Channel show. And I have to start this review off by saying this is not a show directed towards adults. It's just not. I didn't think it would going in, but I didn't really watch a trailer, didn't know what I was in for, and the first episode really set the tone and gave me the idea on what kind of show it wanted to be, and really what kind of show it was, and we are going to get into all of that. I need you guys to leave your comments down below. Let me know, have you tried this show out? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Was it way too cheesy for you? Because it gets really cheesy. Let's talk about No Good Nick. So a family finds their lives turned upside down when a young street-smart grifter shows up to their doorstep claiming to be a distant relative. Yes, you heard that right. This girl shows up. She is trying to scam these people out of their money and their assets, and she has this plan going in to rig these people, to rob them of certain things when you look at money and jewelry and all of those things. I don't want to get into what her schemes are and her plans end up being in almost every episode, because every episode you have a different scheme that she's running. She never really seems to learn her lesson, but let me try my best to break down this show if you guys have not seen it. If you have seen it, you are here looking for one of two things. The first thing is you want me to completely and utterly bash this show because it's so cheesy and it's not the best written show I've ever seen and the plot is ridiculous. Or two, you want me to praise it because the show does know exactly what it is. It is going towards a certain intended audience. The people who will not like it will tune out immediately, but those who stay on board and ride it out for all 8 episodes, I believe are truly going to enjoy this show and find it super bingeable because it is, and I will admit this, a very easy watch. I got through it so quickly, not just because every episode is 30 minutes long, but because it's a very smooth story where you can kind of turn your brain off. You don't have to think too hard. I liken it to Fuller House. Now, I fell off Fuller House just because I have so much to watch, and even though Full House was this shining beacon of my childhood, I just don't have the time to watch that show. And I'm kind of over multi-camera setups and the laugh tracks. And listen, I love shows like Drake and Josh when I was growing up. I even got into iCarly. Sue me. But those are shows that were intended for an audience of my age at the time. The 13 or 14-year-old Austin that was watching Nickelodeon, that was watching the Disney Channel, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, those style and kinds of shows. We've not really seen something like that on Netflix. So when we open up Netflix and oh my gosh, No Good Nick with Sean Astin and the girl from the original Sabrina, this is going to be awesome. Not knowing what you're in for can really slap you in the face, and that's one reason why I'm here today. I want to tell you guys that you are in for a show that you have seen many times before. It is a very cliched plot with cliched characters. The characters never really go as deep as you want them to go, especially just reading the premise and looking at the poster. I wanted more. Now, I'm going to get the negatives out of the way, and then I will tell you guys how I feel about the show as a whole. The character of Nick, all throughout the show, all throughout the first season, every time you would think she would learn a lesson, first you would realize that there were more episodes, so you know she didn't learn her lesson entirely, but then you think about it, why is this girl not just taking the hint? Why does she continue to make these mistakes and basically lie to this family for the first however many episodes it takes for them to finally start learning the truth. I don't want to spoil that. But it just seems so repetitive to me that some of these characters can be this ignorant about certain situations and things that are happening on screen with our characters, and it got a bit annoying after a while. But then you look at that fact, you take that, and you shove it aside, and you think about it for just a second. With a show like this that knows exactly what it is, and it does, that is a huge positive for No Good Nick. It establishes this logic that certain characters within this universe, within this world, it's suspension of disbelief, really, if you think about it. They kind of live by this code to where they will tell a joke and then pause, let the audience laugh. And the laugh track, by the way, it is the same laugh track that you have heard in every show like this ever. Same giggles, the same laughs, the same ooh, the same ah, it's the same thing. Which is fine. A laugh track is a laugh track, but when you've heard it so many times and they keep using the same one, it's like, come on, man, you couldn't find some different voices? And I will admit, the very first episode, I was questioning logic like crazy. I'm like, I don't know anything about Nick. They didn't really establish her character. You're just kind of thrown into the situation, and they accept her almost immediately. I'm like, you're not gonna sit there and think about what's happening when someone does come in and try to pull the wool over their eyes, and it works very easily. But a normal parent would think about money and how much it's going to cost to bring another kid. And I'm not saying they're going to deny her, but it is something that I would have liked a conversation about to learn more about these parents, because really, you look at these two cast members and who you would think the show is built off of, they are not in the show near as much as these kids, which tells me, as someone watching who is trying to critique it, that this is a show for kids. This is a show that is intended to appeal to the preteens and really the younger teen world. And if you look at it in that way, I have to say, for that age group, I do think this show works. Regardless of if you're 40 years old watching this and saying this is the dumbest and cheesiest and most ridiculous thing, and the characters, they don't think about things logically. Some of the jokes really fall flat. I did like a bit of the humor. Some of the humor is really smart, and it plays on the time that we live in. There are a lot of technology jokes, a lot of jokes that kind of veer into politics, even though I don't think it hits you on the head like other shows would. It tries to keep it slapsticky and kind of funny. And even though I do say it is a show for kids, they do veer into the cursing territory every now and then. So if you are younger and you're watching this review and you do not like cursing, this show does it not very much, but it does do it. That's the benefit of having a show on Netflix as opposed to Nickelodeon or the Disney Channel. And that's why I had to go about this review a bit differently, because while I do think the script is weak and the characters could use a lot of fleshing out, I do want to see more, because I want to see where these characters go. And I'm so intrigued with this premise. This girl coming in, she is a con artist. She is being raised by con artists. She wants to do these things for her father and get her father out of a certain situation. You understand why she does it, but then you start thinking about how much she lies and how often she lies. And yes, that is what she has been trained to do, but it's like every time she learns her lesson, she just does the same thing in the episode after that, and it did get a bit repetitive. It also gets a bit dark. There are some things she tried to do to those parents, and I'm just like, you could go to jail. Once again, it's the slapsticky multi-camera comedic show. They're not going to make it dark, even though some of the themes in there are kind of dark. And I did get on board with certain character decisions. There are little subplots in there that I was smiling at. And once again, I didn't have a bad time watching this. I was entertained, even though it is a guilty pleasure, and even though it is very cheesy. And the script, it's not good, but the target audience, they're not watching this show for a great script or great character development. That's why I'm watching it, so that's why I'm judging it a bit more harsh. But I do have to think about it from that perspective, is what is this show trying to be? And from the beginning, from the very first scene in the first episode, it established what it wanted to be, and it stayed consistent all the way until the end of the season, and it did set up for more episodes, and I do believe there are already more episodes ordered, so I don't know if it's going to be like a part 2 to season 1 or a season 2, probably season 2. And at the end of the day, I have to say, this is a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. I was entertained, even though I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys it's a well-scripted show. It has good characters. It's very cheesy. It's very cliche, but it's fun, and it knows what it is. And because of all of those things, I'm going to go fresh. I'm going to go 60%. Not the best thing in the world, but it is slightly bingeable. And I do think this plot in general is very intriguing, and where it goes and where it could go in season 2 could get even more intriguing. And I know I've been rambling for a long time, but I want to know what you guys think about No Good Nick. I'm sure you'll let me know in the comment section below. Regardless, I appreciate you guys watching this video, for hearing my thoughts. As always, I'm reviewing watching the brand new thing, whether it's a series or a movie on Netflix. I did Game of Thrones last night, had a bit of a hard time getting that video up because it got taken down due to copyright. I shortened it, I put it back up. I appreciate all of your guys' support, everything you guys do. As always, I will be back tomorrow with another review. I will catch you guys very soon.